Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for today's video. I wanted to talk to you about the etiology of the narcissist from a different type of idiopathic stance. So the orientation of narcissism in an individual. Let's jump in. So we all have heard narcissists they're diagnosed after the age of 18, but when you get into the real psychology of it, and this is for entertainment purposes only, this is all just fun and games. But the narcissist will start molding themselves as becoming a narcissist, the individual. The individual starts molding themselves in becoming a narcissist in and around the age of 2 to 3, 4 to 5. And so they become fully integrated between the ages of 2 to 3 to the ages of 18. And I do believe that this is a psycho-spiritual situation, issue. It's not just a psychological issue. In fact, narcissism is really deemed a personality disorder. It's not a psychological disorder, which means it's got its own class to itself. And it was almost taken out of the DSM-5 in the late 90s for lack of merit. And narcissism is an interesting topic because it's something that can be changed at will. So if the individual who becomes a narcissist wants to change, they can. They just choose to do what they choose to do out of the desires of their heart. And the desires of their heart change when they get caught. The desires of their heart change when they need something. The desires of their heart change when there is a superior officer in and around them and they have to act right. But outside of that, they clown around and play games. And life is a game to them. And they are strictly in a 3D or lower as far as spiritually, mentally, and psychologically. But if you could picture a toddler and then becoming a young adolescent, even in psychology, Sam Bankman, who is a well-known, one of the forerunners in the study of narcissism, wrote several books, and he spoke on what it's like to become a narcissist. He is still a narcissist. He's pompous about it. He is almost honored to be one from the way that he speaks. And from the way he speaks, it doesn't seem as if he is in belief of any sort of God per se. I just want to give you a little backdrop on him. But what he spoke on was the child will go through certain things where they may have expectations from their hierarchy, parents, caregivers, and they will come into a time to where they can't meet up to the expectations. So when they're alone, there will be generated an imaginary friend for them. And the imaginary friend will be fun, playful, and powerful, full of energy, and will allure the individual into becoming a narcissist. And if you could picture it like while they're down, the imaginary friend would start to show them how they would help them, coach them, and lead them down a brighter path. If the individual, the adolescent, make an agreement with them to share their vessel, they would be more powerful together. And this entity would always be with them. They would never be alone, so they would never have abandonment issues. They would always have power and control over situations versus being controlled and being overpowered. They'd be able to work together, and this entity, this imaginary friend, would show them a new way, a new pathway, would give them their heart's desires. But if you could look at it like how the enemy works is like they would present themselves as if this is a one time only. And if you don't do it now, it won't be available later. The enemy likes you to rush into things, to be impulsive. And when this individual, this adolescent, decides to do this, maybe they, you picture they drift on off to sleep. And when they wake up, because they have made this covenant, contract, this consent, this verbal agreement, or it could be a non-verbal agreement. You know how you could speak to yourself with your inner voice without saying a word? You could ask your thoughts out. Well, just as that can occur, you can make agreements that way. Unspoken, but submissive to it and in agreement with it. When they wake up, they are now intertwined in this avatar, in this vessel. So anything that the now narcissist, now entered narcissist does, the entity has 50% ownership. It's not occupying, but it's agreed to an ownership. But also in this agreement, this individual had to agree to give up on themselves to put this individual in charge. Maybe 51%. You know, you have those companies that agree and somebody wants 51% of the stock. That way they have the controlling factor of the whole corporation. That occurs. And this entity starts out in an enticing way, because the only way the enemy can convince you of things is when you're enticed. You have to be enticed, you have to be drawn in. They have to be offering something that you want, something that you feel is unreachable. They have to allow you to get down and out and then come to you pepped up with these dreams and this new reality they can offer you. And with that, they have to pump up your ego and get you out of any type of logic or any type of spirit man or higher thinking position, so that you'll be very vulnerable to being in agreement with this entity. So it's going to come at you in your lowest point, and it's going to love bomb you, just like the narcissist does to you. It's the same thing that happened to them. They come to you when your vibration's at its low point, and maybe you have entered into that vibration level of 10 to 199, because even though you grew up and you were groomed to take care of narcissists as a black sheep, you don't normally ride on that level. But from time to time, before you were healed, you had the ability to dip into that 199. And that 199 occurred because maybe you went through a breakup and you had a hard time getting over it, or a marriage, or you had a family member pass away, and it was what led you into a depressive state. It brought you under this level of this threshold of the 199. You could even call it bereavement. In hospitalization, they call it bereavement. It's when you have several of these things occur that pull your vibration level down or put you in a depressive state. And it's something that almost you have a tough time even getting out of. You can flutter around this level for a long period of time, unhealed and hurt, very hurt. You may have had a divorce and deaths in your family occur. And that was a lot, almost too much to endure. And maybe you lost finances, and there was a lot of movement in your life in a bad way that led you to this point. And this is where the narcissist would come into your life and enter you. But that's the same thing that happens to this adolescent. They get to a low point, and then they're promised greatness, their heart's desire for this one-time deal. And when they make this deal, it's them renouncing themselves for this agreement, for this entity. So they wake up and this thing is in control of them, with them, and leads them. It guides them and coaches them, and it love bombs them. It pumps up their ego and gets them in a state of mind of ego. And so they will teach them and coach them in all these different areas. How to be a martyr, how to look like a martyr, so that you can get attention, and how to look like the victim, to play the victim. how to look like the king or the queen and the superior one, the leader, the perfect person, the perfect model of what people would expect is the perfect model in life. The perfect mother, the perfect father, the perfect holy man or woman. The individual that takes care of the needy, but doesn't really care about the needy. The individual who's a champion and also a hero. This individual will also be taught in the act of being even the best villain. And these are all types of roles that the narcissist will be learned and taught under, to learn these roles, to fake them, to portray them. And as they teach them how to do this, they start to gain what I call a pipeline. It's what we used to call in real estate. You have a pipeline, and the pipeline is to say you're an independent contractor and you have to keep your pipeline growing and always have business coming to it, because you don't get paid from anything. You don't get a paycheck. In a commission business, you have to continue to have sales come to you. That's called your pipeline. So you got to keep your pipeline full. So you're always out promoting your services so that you can get money, or what we call supply and business. So the narcissist is taught in how to build their pipeline of supply. Their pipeline of supply is to promote themselves in a way that's exclusive, that they are the best looking, that they have a lot to offer, but they have only a little bit of time to spend with you, and they're willing to spend it with you. Their time is very precious, and you're lucky to have them in your life. And for the short times that you have with them, because they're so important and busy, you just have to accept that and be grateful that they've even offered you a chance at any of their time. And you go into accepting that, thinking they're of that high value importance, and they also put spells on you to make you feel it's believable. And this entity will get them to go out and start these different partnerships, these love partnerships, as they grow older. And before that, they would be just abusing individuals for supply in regular relationships, non-sexual relationships, friendships. And this entity, when it comes in, it will start to, at some point, after it starts to build its pipeline and after it's coached them, it will start to devalue them. Love bomb phase is over. Now it's time to devalue. Now it's going to talk cheap to them, tell them how they're no good. Maybe they shouldn't have made this agreement. Maybe they should have did this. Oh, you can't do that. I can't believe you would be like this. This is their inside voice, degrading them, getting the person to despise themselves. And the whole time, the entity is attacking the love center of this individual. It has 50% or 51% ownership now. And that's where it becomes a permanent possession. Is as this person has given up on themselves, and when this entity comes in, it's able to attack the love center. I mean, an entity of dark energy is going to be one of witchcraft, because all dark energy is going to be in a dark witch or dark warlock or whatever. They're going to be operating at that level all the time. So it's going to pull their vibration down, and that's why they have to go out and build this pipeline. And it's going to knock out over time. It's going to get them thinking one way. And when it's having them think more in the fight or flight area of their brain and thinking on that level of consciousness, it's going to be attacking the love centers of the right brain or the frontal lobes. and it's going to convince the individual to just think in fight or flight and survival, and thinking how they are going to play these different roles and build their pipeline. That's all they're really concerned about. And impressing the entity inside them. So they work hard at building this pipeline, doing these things. And as there's no blood flow to the love centers of the brain, it gets ischemia. It gets real narrowed vessels. And then it gets all clogged up and it gets scarred up. The vessel's sheaths are damaged. And over time, they lose all blood flow to them, as if the narcissist doesn't even remember the area even existed in their brain, their mind, and their thoughts. And they shut down. It's like a company that's gone out of business. You know, there was once a company that was thriving, surviving. It was really making a true change. It was really showing life, right? But over time, it got the wrong type of management. And when the wrong type of management comes in, it didn't take long for it to go the opposite way. And before you know it, that company is in shutdown mode. It's filing for bankruptcy. And after it's all said and done, you'll go buy that company's physical entity years later, and you'll find there's nothing but overgrown weeds in the parking lot. And nobody's been there in years. It's dead. Everybody's forgotten about it. And that's what happens to the love centers, because when this love center shut down, it's like a river that flows through it of your blood, right? Blood brings the life to those vessels, but when it's diverted, that river of flow turns into a stream, and that stream is then pinched off, and there's no blood flow to it at all. And then it becomes deadened. But first it becomes muddy, right? After the water disappears, it becomes muddy, and then it dries out, and it becomes either hard, like rock, that clay, that dirt. It's impermeable. And then it also becomes dusty, like a desert, as it dries out. And that's what happens to the love centers of the brain, to the mind of this individual. If you wanted to flow water, or if you wanted to flow water there, or blood to that area of the brain, it's going to be just a dammed up wall of deadened membrane. It can't get through anymore. It's going to be more of a basin. It's not permeable. There's no channels to flow through. And even if there were, anything that was living has been deadened. And it's like that business, that company, that corporation that closed down 5 years ago. When you come back, it's a parking lot with weeds and grass growing and a tree growing through the middle of the building. Nobody's been there in years. There's cobwebs. And that's what happens. And that's all that you need to lose. Because it says in 1 Corinthians that without love, you're just noise. You just make noise, and it doesn't yield you anything. There is no goodness in its fruition. It has nothing to give. It's a taker. You're just acting like you love, but you don't love. When you don't have love, it's an atmospheric change. It's not good. And when you lose love, and when they cut off love to where it's deadened, they also lose everything else good in their life. Because if the Lord says without love you are nothing, you are as noise, you are as a clanging cymbal. You can talk all you want, but you don't have the substance of love to give or to generate. And when that occurs, you become evil. You lose love and what's connected to the vine of love, because the root of the vine is love. And what comes off of that is goodness, gentleness, kindness, peacefulness, faithfulness, good self-control, all of these things. There's 9 fruits of the Spirit spoken of in the Word, and they lose all of them. They also lose their true self. And their true self is to say truth. The truth in you. You have deadened the truth in you. And when you deaden the truth in you, you lose your ability to reach God. Because if God is truth, if Christ is truth, then how can you reach him if you can never, ever have even the ability to reach even truth anymore? Because you have deadened it, sacrificed it. And so then your true self dies and becomes a false self. And your inside voice is exchanged out. Because when you lose love, you lose your soul. And when your soul deadens, there's a vacuum in there. There's an area of space that was once containing your soul that has died off. And that vacuum is replaced with the seat of the enemy, this parasite, this predator. And this predator jumps in the seat, and it does this in a way of devaluing the individual, you, your mind, will, and emotions, whatever is left in there. It's getting you to feel like not enough, to feel like a failure. And it gets you to look outside for the answer, because you're detached from your soul now. So you're looking out here because there's nothing in here anymore. It's almost as if you can't even imagine yourself as being inside and out. Because that working has taken place, the inside thinking of who you are has deadened as well. So now you are completely convinced, and there's no other way of looking at for them. It's hard, they can't even fathom the option of looking in anymore. It's almost like it never existed. So everything is from here out. And so they're searching out here. And when this vessel is filled in that vacuum with this entity now, as your soul dies, it then pushes whatever the original entity is out to the outer surfaces, toward the bone, toward the flesh. And it's almost as if this individual becomes a skinwalker. You know what a skinwalker is? It's like something that has the outer shell of you, and it can, if it's on top of you, it is the same reflection of you. It's the ghostly version of you, right? The energetic self, so to speak, the outer version of the energetic self of you. And they get pushed out to that level. They can feel and they can touch, and they're still connected to the mind, will, and the emotions. But they don't have that inner self, that inner sanctum anymore. It's almost, because it's deadened, it's incomprehensible that it even exists. So they feel their energetic self, they use their mind, will, and emotions, and they see and can do everything out here like we can. So they get pushed out to there. Now, where they used to have an inner sanctum, they don't have it anymore. Now they're just like a skinwalker to this entity that is now housed in the inner sanctum of where the soul was. And when they denounced themselves, they denounced love and love for themselves, and any love that they could receive from God. When you denounce yourself, you also denounce God. When you sacrifice yourself, you denounce God, because you denounced every opportunity to reaching him. And this is how this becomes a permanent possession. Because you have shut off these areas to your brain, and the goodness of who you are or had the potential to be is all been deadened or sacrificed. You are now a hybrid of humanity, because now you're missing even not just psychological, not just emotional, but you're missing physical pieces or tools or operations. You're missing the centers of your brain that are needed. And because you sacrificed it, it all perished. It's been put to death. And when it's been done like that, you can't open it back up. You can't recreate it. So you're a hybrid anatomically now. That's why sometimes PETs and MRIs will show certain centers of narcissists, their brains are shut off, like permanently deadened, or they don't light up the same, because they have anatomically changed. And there's no going back from that. And because you've lost love, you can do no good. You can't do good if you can't love. God is love. And without the love, you lost your truth. God is truth. And without love and without truth, you have no standard of goodness. And you have no truth in you. That's why they say the narcissist is a lie, because they cannot be truth, and they cannot love. That's why they are always going to be evil and devious, because they can't do right if they wanted to. And if you look at how to define the narcissist in anything in this world, they may all be at a different level on the spectrum of evil, but they're all going to be evil, right? So you have evil people that maybe just focus on theft, right? You may have people that are evil that focus on theft and also unaliving. So this individual that focuses on both of these is going to be more evil on the spectrum than the one that's just focused on theft. And then you have others that just focus on using people, to lie to them, to cheat them. So on the spectrum, it's going to be at a different level for each of them. And that becomes their new personality, their new essence. Their new essence becomes whatever they are on that spectrum, but it's all evil. You can take any evil in the world and size it up with the narcissist, and they're going to have attributes of it. The narcissist is just like Judas. You give them enough money, they will turn an innocent person in. It's worth it to them. They have no standards of goodness. And when I talk about your true self, what I am getting at when I say that your innate true self never changes. What I'm getting to is when you were born, I believe that you are born with your mind, will, and your emotions. Of course, no. When you are born, and I don't think that morals, values, and ethics are something that we learn. I think morals, ethics, and values are something that are innately in you at birth. And you may say, well, I've gotten better at my morals, ethics, and values. So how do you say that, or how can you say that? Well, I postulate to you that you did not change your morals, ethics, or values, but you purified them. You always believed them. You just decided not to follow them, maybe because you were jaded in childhood, or you were used and abused and mistreated in childhood, and it continued into adulthood, and you may have become maladaptive in your recent years, but you never strayed from your morals, ethics, and values. You just weren't following them. And that would be called sin. We're going down a path of sinfulness or forms of rebellion towards God. And we have all done that. That's a nature of life's pathway, sometimes to get us hurt enough to where we make true change in our life. But on the level of the narcissist, this is something totally different. I believe that they were innately born, and when they were innately born, their ethics, morals, and their values were of deceit and deception. And even though they were birthed in the spirit realm first, just like the rest of us, they hadn't culminated into the action of any of those thoughts yet. So there was no opportunity to come into this world as evil yet. When God creates us all, he gives us the option to become who we're going to be, and he births us first in the spirit, or he creates us first in the spirit. But at some point in that birthing in the spirit, or that creation of us in the spirit, he gave us certain options, certain availabilities to become our true self, our innate self. And we may have, over a split second, because God is outside of time, so it doesn't take any time, in a twinkling of an eye, in that moment of time, you and I both chose, through those options and choices, who our innate spirit was going to be. And then we were entered into our mother's womb. And everything that we were ever going to do was already done, you see. Because God in his all-knowingness and his being in his imperial state, he's everything, and he's outside time. So whatever was done has been already in you. You have already come into your fruition before you were put into your mother's womb. Before you were put into your mother's womb and became anything here on earth, it was already done. And earth is the place that we will play out, that we will prove. Earth is a place that we will prove to the courts of heaven, as this is all being recorded for our future court date in heaven, as proof that who we decided to be in our innate self and is who we wrote out, is what we followed out here on earth, as it was all recorded. So when we leave here and go to the courts of heaven, we will have no excuse for the things that we have done. And we'll be all judged by the same rod, whether we are righteous, whether we are evil, whether we are people of deception or good and faithful servants. If you were going to find Christ, you were going to find him through your turmoil and torture here on this earth. If it was meant to be, it has already been done. And that's why when people try to control your destiny, try to divert it, try to bully you, they try to deceive you and get you off your path. They think you're their property. And if you're a worker of light and a worker for the Almighty, because that was your chosen path and your innateness, as you chose that path, you will not be beat. You can't be beat because it is your destiny. And some of us have a pathway of abundance, but a pathway of abundance to help others, to lead others to be a navigator, to form a pathway where there is no pathway, for others to see the light of God and to follow and navigate for themselves. When you have a destiny like that, it won't be stopped. There's nobody on earth and there's nobody in hell that will stop you. Because it has already been done. And you have the armies of God. And if God is with you, then who can be against you? Thanks for watching. Until next time, soldier up. Peace. We out.